All right. Do me a favor, if you guys would. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. You guys ready? We're going to do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on? Razorback fans, SEC fans. Hope you guys are doing swell. I'm doing all right. The Razorback football, Razorback basketball. How about the recruiting of these two fine organizations on campus in Fayetteville? It's pretty wonderful. Football picked up big time, which we knew would happen thanks to July and all those official visits. You just kind of expected recruiting to just turn the dial up to 10, and that's exactly what happened. So Arkansas football rises through the ranks a little bit. They kind of dropped off a tad, and then now they're climbing back up. The question every time this happens. Well, there's two questions: who's going to commit next, and where do you see the Razorbacks finishing with this class, with this 2022 class or whatever? Big time get from us. Yeah, so Arkansas basketball lands the number one prospect out of the state of Alabama. We're, of course, going to talk about that, too. Yeah, come on. Ask the questions. Ask away. I'm here to do what I can, to answer what I know to the best of my ability. I have been chatting it up with quite a few people. I've actually had a couple people in my DMs the last 48 or so hours. Football recruiting is not done with. July could get even better, and I like where they're going. So we're gonna tackle all of that. I wanted to start off with the RJ Young stuff that happened on Twitter today. I don't know if you guys caught that. And of course I don't have it pulled up here. Let me go find exactly what he said really fast. I know some of you don't really care about RJ Young, but look, I mean, this guy RJ, in my opinion, who's popular on YouTube these days, wasn't PewDiePie, remember him? Wasn't he like the big deal on YouTube for a while? That's what he is to sports on for college athletics, for college football. That's what he is. He's from Tulsa. He works for Fox Sports now. He's an analyst for Fox Sports. According to his bio, he's a national college football analyst, NFL draft analyst, and host of the number one show. I think that's his show technically that's on YouTube. I think it's in podcast form as well. At Fox Sports. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not on podcast. And he says he's writing a book about the Tulsa race massacre. That's his bio. Okay. Here's what he said, and we're going to start here really quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I think it's worth noting here as I scroll down. The man tweets a lot. And I'm not saying that this is why he did this. If you're not familiar with Arkansas Twitter, if you're even just a mediocre name in college athletics or whatever, college sports, you work for, I don't know, you have a podcast and you've got a few thousand followers. Or you're because their podcasts are everywhere. They're everywhere. They pop up every day. But let's say you have 3,000 or 4,000 followers. Now RJ is obviously much larger than that. But if you're struggling to get clicks, it seems like the go-to, and we've seen this with established media types as well. The go-to is to just shit talk Arkansas, whatever, or to just make some discouraging remarks, or things like what RJ Young said today. And keep in mind, he's talking solely about football. His tweet 10 hours ago, was it that long ago today? I thought, for some reason, it feels like it was like late afternoon. No. I did retweet it here. Nebraska and Arkansas would have more fun in the Big 12. That was his tweet. And yes, he is verified. If you haven't caught on, it is getting way easier. The people I've seen get verified on Twitter lately, it's not even, I don't even think the blue check mark means much anymore. You just gotta email them, right? Put in your little thing, do your thing, contact Twitter and be like, hey, here's the benchmarks that I meet, which have been lowered substantially over the last several years, but especially this year. And you get the blue check mark. RJ Young fully deserves it. Again, I'm a big RJ Young fan. I should say big RJ Young fan. Let's be honest. I catch his content when he talks about the Razorbacks or sometimes about the SEC. Again, he tweets this. Nebraska and Arkansas would have more fun in the Big 12. He then follows that up, and, I mean, he's, 2 or 3 tweets right here. Yeah. Arkansas hasn't won an SEC title in its history. Again, talking about football, obviously. It's been there for 29 years. Put it another way, Arkansas hasn't won a conference title since 1989. Come to the Big 12, Hogs. Then he says this again just an hour later. There are 32-year-olds who have never seen Arkansas win a conference title in football. That's halfway. That's halfway to AARP without a ring. I mean, he's not wrong. Do I agree with him? I don't know. Have I talked about my thoughts on going to the Big 12 here or not? I really can't remember. I'm sure I've flapped my jaws. I've gone back and forth on this issue. Arkansas clearly is doing fine in the SEC in the competitive arena in every other area except football. Now, look, football is America's sport. It's the sport that matters the most on campus. Let's just call it like it is. It's the same way all the way to like freaking junior high school, even here in the state of Arkansas. It's a big deal. Hog fans typically are diehard basketball, well, I don't think baseball is big, don't get me wrong, and all the schools in the Southeastern Conference, they have the fan base near the top 3, top 5 in college or in the SEC. But like, by comparison, by the numbers, yeah, obviously baseball just doesn't stick like it used to, right? In terms of the mass appeal of the sport through all levels, whether it's college or minor league ball, all the way up to Major League Baseball, it doesn't have the same appeal that it once had. But yes, Razorback fans are diehard baseball fans. I think that's lost on RJ Young. That is lost on him. He does not understand that we don't just look at football. We don't just look at that and go, nah, we don't belong here. Now, I agree with that sentiment. I agree that, you know what? But look what we do in baseball. Look what we do in recruiting in baseball, and then look what we do on the field. Yeah, we didn't make the College World Series, but guess what? We're upset about that. That's the standard in baseball here. Even the most casual Razorback baseball fans are not happy about not making the College World Series for the 3rd year in a row. When was the last time Tulsa could say that, RJ? When was the last time Oklahoma could say that? Right? That matters to Arkansas. Arkansas basketball, they went to the Elite Eight, and they are trending high. They are looked at as a possible preseason top 12, top 10 basketball team. When was the last time that happened at Arkansas? But we know their history in the 80s and 90s and what they were able to do off and on throughout the 2000s. I mean, yeah, they definitely should have gone further. But when you talk about like regular season success, even under Mike Anderson, they didn't have losing seasons, right? So there's still a pretty high standard of success with Arkansas basketball, and Musselman has yet, obviously, in his short term here in just 2 years, has not had a losing season. He has them trending to a possible, like the expectation is set up now, even already with these transfers, and now with this most recent commit, even though that's not going to impact Razorback basketball for another year. The standard is the standard is high here. It's like, yeah, if you don't make the Sweet 16 this year, Hog fans are liable to be pretty upset about that. Just like that. Isn't that funny how quickly that can happen? And that's propped up because of Arkansas media, Twitter, social media, national media. Make no mistake about it. That's not just fans being dumb. It's propped up. I've yet to really dive into next year because I'm focusing on one sport at a time. Going through now, we're trending into, or we're heading into football. But RJ, it's lost on RJ that Arkansas is not just one thing or another, right? They're all three, man. They're all three, and they support their women's sports pretty damn well. I went to a number of women's games in 19, and they come through, right? I think for the most part, in comparison to other schools, they do really well. They support their women. Have you been to a softball game? I mean, it's crazy. So they support their ladies well. It's not just about football for here. Does that mean he doesn't make a point? No, I agree with him. I do think it would be more fun. I do. I think it'd be more fun in the South. Or in, I see what I did there. The old Southwest Conference in the Big 12. I do. I think there's more. You've already got the history set up with several teams over there. The travel really isn't a huge difference, but it is a difference, right? You've got two opponents right over the border here, just like you do on the Mississippi side, right? But, I mean, Oklahoma State's not that far. Norman's not that far, right? I dated a girl that lived in Oklahoma City, and Norman wasn't far from Oklahoma City. She lived in Mustang, so how far is – I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now. But what is that, a 3.5 hour drive or whatever? It's like from here to Little Rock, a little more than Little Rock. So going to Norman, that is. Or maybe it's further. I swear it's not much more if it is, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like Oklahoma State could be a potential new rival. Oklahoma definitely, especially for people who live down in the River Valley and people who live up here in Northwest Arkansas. Oklahoma fans are everywhere, and you can't stand them if you live around here, and especially down the River Valley. There have been bar fights. I've heard down the River Valley it gets pretty choppy. So, yeah, I think that's appealing. It's not going to happen. We all know it's not going to happen. There's too much money in the Southeastern Conference. And RJ's, and he argued with people all day, money doesn't win championships, fans don't care about money, and he's right. But it's still not going to happen because of the financial benefits of being in this conference. And you also have to consider when you go down to the Big 12, you're taking a pretty big step backwards. I think recruiting would drop. And a good example of that, look at Texas A&M. They go from being, a run-of-the-mill Big 12 team, and then they join the Southeastern Conference, and now they're an elite recruiting program. They've always been a pretty solid recruiting program. Now they're like elite. Now they're high up there. I haven't checked on them in the last couple of years, but I haven't followed them religiously the last couple of years, but they do really well. And the reason for that is because they joined the SEC. Okay. Rant over. RJ Young isn't entirely wrong, but he's wrong. I think that's fair to say. Okay, let's get caught up on chat. Fishman, Woo Pig. I haven't contributed to the channel in a long time. Ready for football and especially basketball. Appreciate that, Fish. Super chat is up, and it does take priority over the rest of chat, so I do appreciate that, Fish. Also, again, I know you guys were looking at the Patreon screen, but there's the month of June. And if you notice, we made some changes to the thumbnail. It's a different looking, little bit different thumbnail. Not here, not the Patreon page, but the actual thumbnail to the video. A little bit different. We're slowly making those changes, getting ready. Also, a heads up, July, not going to happen. I think the full-time schedule is going to start. It's looking more and more like it's going to start probably that following, either the week leading into the game against Rice or the week after. So just a quick heads up on that. All right, let's get caught up on more chat. I like RJ and a lot of his takes, but that was just a bad take, says Dylan Davis. I got to agree. It just wasn't a good take. And I think it's lost on him that we like other sports here. We are not just a football school. We are, in my opinion, it's a baseball school. That's my opinion. Because you're recognized as to what kind of school you are based on what you're having the most success at and where you excel at. And I would even argue what you do as far as like the stadium capacity. What's the comparison to what they do in Fayetteville in football in Little Rock? Compare that to the baseball stadium. Compare that, right? It's like they soak up those seats, man. Even when they're average, it's 75, 80% capacity there. Even when they're average, when they're barely ranked. That's not the case in football, and you're winning in baseball. So I think Arkansas is a baseball school. And it is appealing. Don't get me wrong. It is appealing, the Big 12 and what's there and what they have to offer in terms of the rivalries. Geographically, it makes sense. I get it. I would love to watch Arkansas play Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas every single year. Bring back Baylor and the Texas Tech rivalries and whatever. Okay. Hit the like button. Slap it. Bake its ass. Top 5 at some point in basketball this year. in recruiting, we'll see. Sailor Klein, we'll see. I think it's possible. Ty, do we get commitment from Jordan Crook? I'm so glad you brought that up. First off, let's talk about this big time. And now I was going to do a video. Here's my script. Here's part of the script. I'm going to read it to you guys. Okay, I'll read it from the very beginning. How about that? Give you a little treat. This was going to be turned into a video, but I thought, screw it. We'll talk about it here. And also, there will not be a Friday anything. My schedule tomorrow, not looking like I'm going to be able to live stream. So that's why we're doing it today. So here's the script. Yo, what's going on, Hog fans, SEC fans? Welcome to the one and only Pig Trail Network YouTube channel. I'm Ty Hudson. Do me a favor. While you're watching, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the links provided for you down below in the description box. And a special shout out to the PTN Patreon supporters for the month of June. I've already shown you guys that cue card. It says there, show cue card. The Hogs land the number one prospect in the state of Alabama, Barry Dunning, a 6'6", 210-pound small forward, a big-time 4-star. His addition to the 2022 class pushes the Hogs up to the top 10 on 247. I like what Dunning brings to the table. He can switch things up on defense. He can defend the perimeter. He can defend underneath it. Has big hands, a solid frame, and possesses a solid wingspan. Moves well up and down the floor. Can play the space and pace pretty well. He averaged 22 points, right at about 22 points a game, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks per game. Was 6A All-State there in Mobile, Alabama. I love this part too. Turn it up for this. Don't you love that the Must Bus drove down to Bama and snagged the number one prospect in the state? Happens far too often in Arkansas. It's about time they did it to someone else. Chew on that, Nate Oates, and you annoying-ass Alabama basketball fans who all of a sudden discovered a new sport like Tennessee fans have done with baseball. End in video. Actually, there was going to be another paragraph there that just kind of went on about, just a little bit more on Dunning and then, closed it out. So there you go. Barry Dunning, big-time get for Arkansas. Muss is killing it. He's killing it. And what I love, too, about this is that he's proven that not only can he recruit in the state, not only can he go after grad transfers and go after the portal, oh, yeah, he could walk into the state of Alabama and take their number one prospect. I don't know, what can't this guy do? And you would be okay if he only recruited the state of Arkansas, because you're always going to have the portal. You're always going to have the grad transfer route. You're always going to have these other options. You would be completely fine with him sticking with just the region, right? With like Arkansas and then the surrounding states. Like what it takes to do well in football. Like that's, for me, that's the blueprint to success recruiting wise in the state of Arkansas, or for the university, is stick to the states that border the state of Arkansas and then go down to Texas. Maybe you find a couple people that are interested elsewhere. Arkansas football has been able to do that in under Sam Pittman in Georgia, in Michigan, walked into Oklahoma, took some of their top prospects. Obviously, they've had some success in Texas as well. But basketball-wise, we haven't really seen a home run get like this, and you got it. This is a home run. He's look, and what I had, because I deleted it, but what else I had typed out was something like he's a Swiss Army knife kind of player, which I think is what he is. Barry Dunning could probably develop or install more of the 3-point game, right? He's capable of knocking down threes. He's got a clean stroke, but he's more of a mid-range guy. And he's pretty aggressive down around the hoop. But again, what a get from Musselman. He's proved it. He's proved it time and time again. Well, the last couple of years recruiting in-state and developing guys that are already here. He's proven that he can work the grad transfers. He can work the portal. Some could maybe argue he did more with less year one. You look at that jump with Mason Jones, right? His last year at Arkansas, Muss's first year here. What a jump Mason Jones had. He just continues. Like, what else is there for him to prove outside of making the Final Four and winning the Natty, right? Like, that's all that's left. And he's done that in 2 years. He's like he's doing it. We'll see what happens with keep an eye on Calipari at Kentucky, by the way. He's getting more and more vocal about the NBA. He said something a couple of weeks ago that made it seem like he's entertaining the idea. So excited for AJ Green. This guy is legit. I've been saying that since they offered that kid. I am so excited about AJ Green. Must Bus. I've been on it since he got hired. This guy's awesome. Christian Hansen says straight stole Dunning from Bama. Loving it. Dylan Davis says Dunning has a very high ceiling. He does. He's got a high ceiling. Again, I would like to see him. I'd like to see him get a little bit better beyond the arc. I'd like to see the 3-point game become a part of his game. This chair. Oh my God, this chair. So, all right. I'm not trying to. Okay, my birthday is July 15th. My loving wife knows I don't like this chair. I hate it. It squeaks. It kills the butt cheeks. It kills the tailbone. She ordered me a chair for my birthday. I put it together today. Of course, I did it wrong. It's sitting over there because it's uncomfortable as hell. But I could tell it probably would work if I actually used it. So I'm going to have to break that new chair in. It was expensive. I feel bad, but I couldn't do it. That and the height was I couldn't get it to come down. And so that means I have to readjust my camera, and I had to, when you make subtle little changes here in front of the camera, you then have to make changes to the camera. So I just didn't want to deal with that, and now I'm regretting it. Okay. All right. So, football recruiting update. Tyrus Washington, 3-star tight end out of Lee County, Leesburg, Georgia, 6'4", 230 pounds. There's some belief out there he could maybe play on the defensive side of the ball. I really don't know if they offered him as an athlete, as someone who could possibly play on both sides or one side or the other. I think they offered him as a legit, he has an offer to play tight end here. Of course, we know that could change. Other offers including, but not limited to, Cincinnati, Central Florida, Boston College, and Kansas State. So he commits to Arkansas over those schools. I don't know how many of those are legit offers. The big appeal to him, probably the biggest appeal to him, is teammate, 4-star, 6'2", 230-pound Jerron Willis, big-time linebacker, 6'2", 230, like I said. The Hogs are actively recruiting Willis. Talked to someone today about him, and I kind of had this hinted to me a few days ago. I don't know what it means. I'm not sold on the idea that he ends up being a Razorback right now. I think when the rubber meets the road, I just don't think he ends up in a Razorback jersey. Would be a great get. He's currently committed to Georgia Tech, but he's taken on more visits. He went on several visits shortly after he committed to Georgia Tech. Rumors are it's a soft commit, so we'll see what he does. It sounds like he could be. Florida State is making a pretty hard move to him to get him to go to Florida State. There are several. I forgot the list, but it's several schools. I don't like the odds of him being a Razorback, though, so it's a little disappointing. Anything could change. We'll see. There's still a long ways to go until February. So who else committed? So you had Tyrus Washington the month of July, along with what you've had happen in basketball. There goes those weird hairs on the microphone again. Manny Powell, I love this get. Manny Powell, big linebacker. He committed on July 2nd. Then you had Jalen Lewis, who also committed on July 2nd. A defensive back, and then, of course, Tyrus Washington. So then who's next? Trey Fight was someone I was told 3 weeks ago, Hogs were interested. They had an offer on the table. I'm not sure what happened. It sounds like Arkansas backed off. And I was told this before he committed, but he committed to Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. So, Trey, this is a kid, 6'5", 210 pounds, could play in a couple different positions. I liked his numbers, and although I hadn't seen any video, or maybe he was one of the kids I watched a couple of minutes on. I can't remember. There was one day I sat down and I kind of watched several minutes of several different prospects. I think he was one of them. But I like what Fight brings to the table for them, for Louisiana. Good frame, good size. Definitely has the frame to add some weight, but I don't think he ends up being a Razorback. Okay, next up, Jalen White, 6'2", 6'2.5", 205 pounds safety. I like this kid a lot too. I love those safeties that are pushing the 6'2", 6'3". Guys are a little bit bigger, have big frames, are athletic. They can take away a portion of the field because of their size. A lot of safeties work a little bit different in this defense, and you've got 2 or 3 different safeties on the field at any given time, and they kind of work them a little bit differently. Jalen White is someone, I think he was written about not long ago, I want to say over on 247. It sounds like there's a chance he could commit sooner than later, probably before the season. I don't know much more than that. And then Jordan Crook, another kid I like a lot. Not your prototypical size, right? He's not your P5 size or SEC size linebacker, 6'3", 6'4", 240. He's a little bit smaller. He's 6 foot, just north of what is his weight? Why don't I have his weight pulled up here? I thought I had his weight pulled up. Where is he? Hang on. Yeah, 225. Right, I was going to say 215. 225, 6 foot, 225. He was committed to Oklahoma State. But then he comes on an official visit to Arkansas, and then he decommits from Oklahoma State. I think he ends up being a Razorback. All signs are pointing that Crook ends up being a Hog. Obviously, right? You go on this visit, you go on an official visit in the month of June, and then you're already committed to Oklahoma State, and then you get home and you're like, yeah, I'm going to decommit from Oklahoma State. Odds are he ends up committing to Arkansas, but I've also been told by a media member that it's looking right now, today, very good. His recruiting could pick up. We saw this, guys. We saw this back in May and June where all of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, kids were getting offers. They were getting offered to go on visits, and they were, their offer sheet started to grow. We saw that on a couple of prospects, guys that we were looking at a little while back. And so it could happen with Crook as well. I think he was a little bit under the radar when he committed to Oklahoma State, and now Oklahoma State once again butting heads with Arkansas over a recruit. Arkansas, it seems like they tend to win a lot, not all, but a lot of those recruiting battles. Would that make you feel good? A program that's winning, 8 to 9 games a year in the Big 12, has had way more recent success, and yet Arkansas just continues to walk into their state. Of course, Crook is not. Crook is from Texas, Duncanville, Texas, but still, they go head to head on these recruits, and Arkansas seems to win a lot of these matches against Oklahoma State. I guess it just says more about Fayetteville. James Joyner, yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, Mr. T-Dub with the super chat. James Joyner, let me read Mr. T-Dub's super chat here. James Joyner tweeted out, "Let me clear it up. I'm all Hog." That's good. Yeah. So he cleared off his Twitter, right, of all the Hog stuff. I had a couple of people reach out to me asking me if I knew what was going on, and I said, no, I don't. I have no idea. So I did the usual, what the hell's going on, looked around. No one could really get back with me, so I never really found out why he did that. And it looked clearly that he was going to decommit. It looked clearly like this kid was on it, because that is typically what happens, right? These kids, they feel the love, right, from whatever school. They commit, and then they just decorate their profile full of Hog stuff, their banner, or maybe they tweet at other Hog players. They have some kind of Hog, them in a jersey, as their profile, whatever. I forgot what all he had, but he did have Arkansas stuff on his Twitter. And I don't follow him on Instagram because I don't really do Instagram, but he'd taken some of that stuff down. He went quiet on the front of because he was recruiting players as well. He was actually tweeting at players. He stopped doing all that. All signs pointed that he was decommitting. Something was going on. Indiana really pushed things, and then for whatever reason, the last couple of days, that's all. I don't know. My guess is, if you want my honest opinion, Arkansas probably is losing out on another prospect. If I'm calling it like it is, and they probably want to reassure Joyner that they're all in. I don't know. I like Joyner. Like I said, He has the skills to be a Power 5 running back. He absolutely possesses those skills. But now college football, man, and this is what's going to be interesting, is that I don't like dissing kids. I never like to, and I'm not dissing Joyner at all. I'm just saying, but now you could literally make money thanks to the NIL stuff. Wherever you choose to go, there's an opportunity for you to make money. That doesn't really change things for me, but like now that's one of the reasons why I'm a lot harder on the guys in the NFL. Of course, they sign way bigger contracts, and they're older. They're 22, 23, 24. They can handle it. That's part of their career, right? That's part of what it's for. But now it kind of makes you be a little less like not. You don't take it easy on the kids, but you do. Some of that feels like it's evaporating a little bit. So when you're looking at a prospect, it's like, okay, this kid could come in and make good money, but is there someone else out there who could make more and has the possibility of being a bigger name? And what also do you already have on campus with AJ Greed, Raheem Sanders, Johnson, those guys? What are the realistic odds that he's going to come in and beat these guys out? And that was another thing that I was weighing in on. I don't know. I like Joyner a lot. But I don't know if he's someone who's going to come in and see the roster to make the 2 deep in the next couple of years. I really don't know. These kids, a lot can happen between now and 2022. A lot can happen. I like his film. I've kept an eye on him for a year, maybe more. But I think he's, as far as being an SEC running back, he strikes me as very run of the mill. So I still take it easy on, especially high school recruits. They're still kids, and I do know there are kids that watch this show. I know that. I know there are family members that watch this show. I've had people reach out. There are coaches on the staff whose families have reached out to me. So I also have to keep that in mind, but at the same time, I'm a no bullshitter. And so I don't know. I guess the trade-off is that it's harder to be easy on kids when they can actually go make money, I guess. I don't know. Mr. T-Dub says, Arkansas, let's see, also looking good for 5-star defensive back out of Oklahoma. Y'all get the likes up. So, yeah, I think it's good that you're keeping Joyner around. And it's good that he's sticking around. And again, Indiana really wanted Joyner. They really did. I don't think they ever backed off. They definitely wanted Joyner. What else do we have? Hang on, I had something else pulled up here. Yeah, we haven't really touched on the NIL stuff much here because I don't know. It's a heated debate. It is. And I'm going to say this. I'm a fan of I always say I don't want to get political, but I am a fan of free markets, right? I do believe they work. I think they're the most effective tool we have in a lot of categories. When we talk about lifting people up out of poverty, you look at what it has done. It's been wonderful. And you've had kids who they've benefited from housing. They've benefited from a scholarship. We're still paying on my wife's tuition. We're still paying on it. We're probably going to be paying on it for a little while longer. And that sucks. These kids get a full ride. They get housing, they get food, they get stipends, they get this stuff. But on the flip side, you think back, how much money did guys like Matt Jones, Peyton Hillis, Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, Peyton Hillis, Marcus Monk, how much money did they help bring to the University of Arkansas? Guys, there's no debating what they did for the University of Arkansas. Over the course of that period of time, how many number 5 jerseys were sold? Of course, then eventually the NCAA got on to the programs. They had to start selling like the number 0 jersey. I remember that being a thing for a little while. But, you think back, schools have benefited from these kids. And I think it's only fair if you're going to have that same system in the NFL where you have these guys that bring – that's why they make the contracts it's why they have the contracts they do in the NFL, because they bring a ton of money to the league. How is that any different in college football? That's the way I looked at it in the beginning. I was definitely skeptical of it, and I still am. I'm still skeptical of the NIL. We thought cheating was bad before. Holy shit, it's about to get a lot worse. It is. Not everyone's going to follow the rules. The rules they're not even black and white from the NCAA. They more or less told these conferences, like, look, it's up to you guys how you police, what kind of caps you want to set. From what I've read, it's up to the conferences to set the limit. No one's going to set a limit. Hey, yeah, we're the Big Ten. We're gonna cap you at $20,000. Okay, we're the SEC. We're gonna cap you at we're gonna go $40,000. We're gonna compete, right? I mean, that's how this is gonna work. Bunch of bullshit. There's not gonna be any capping. Now we'll see how it works out. Yeah, there's gonna be some cheating's gonna get worse. It is. I'm telling you right now. But I get it. You think about what these kids do for the programs. I think they should have that opportunity. But I am also skeptical of it. It's kind of like there's so much newness coming to college athletics, and it started with the playoffs. What seems like not that long ago. When did they start the playoffs? Someone's gonna have to help me out. What year was that? But it started there, right? And now then it went to grad transfers, and then the transfer portal, and now we have NIL. College football, the landscape of college athletics. I shouldn't just say football. College athletics has changed forever. It will never be the same. Again, and I think you could maybe even go a little bit further back to the conference realignments. When you had A&M and Mizzou join the SEC, you had West Virginia join the Big 12, which still makes no sense to me. Notre Dame flirting around with the ACC. But college football, the landscape of college athletics, I keep saying that, college athletics, the landscape of college athletics has changed so much the last 10 years or so, 8 or 9 years. And we haven't even talked about the safety precautions, how the game has changed over the last 10 to 15 years to being favorable to offenses, right? The way they call the games, it's set up so much more now about scoring points than playing good defensive football. Maybe the Big 12 was onto something all along, even though they don't sign the kind of talent the SEC and the Big 10 and the ACC does. As far as like the way they play the game, they definitely understood it before everybody else, all about the offense. And it's like the rest of college football's caught up. It's changed so much. And anyone who's followed football, I mean, I've followed Razorbacks going back to the 90s. Obviously, being a Ram fan even before the greatest show on turf, when they moved to St. Louis from Los Angeles back in the mid-90s. You go back and you think about what football used to be compared to what it is. And the same thing goes for college athletics, to what it used to be to what it is now. It's changing. For better or worse, I don't know, but it's changing. And I'll say this, for people who are upset about, now we have cheating, where have you been? Like, you're going to have more of it, yes, and it's going to present more opportunities. We haven't seen how this is going to mess with recruiting yet. Again, I don't know what the guidelines are there. We know you can't offer a kid until he's on campus, till he's signed in on campus. You can't make them a part of any deals. Is that going to stop everyone? Like, we've opened the gate. You've opened Pandora's box. But for anyone who's upset about the possibilities of more cheating, I get that. But cheating it's always been here. We know that. Going back to, good God, before the NCAA came around. So it just kind of is what it is. I don't know. I like the idea that these kids can kind of benefit. By the way, for those of you who are fans of the NCAA football franchise, it looks more and more likely that not only, we know it's back, that now you're going to be able to edit your freaking players. That was off the table because of all this stuff with NIL. I'm sorry, but that makes – how can you take that out of the NCAA franchise? How can you take out the ability to edit players, like their names, their numbers they wear, to their size and everything? Why would you take that away? We're just going to make a bunch of preset names, a bunch of random guys, and there you go. There's your game. Fans are going to buy that. They want to be able to edit their characters. And so you're going to be – I think that's going to change. I think now the NCAA's – or, excuse me, EA Sports is going to change their rule on that. I think they're going to allow you to edit, which will open up the community download room where you can download, more accurate rosters. I mean, there's no doubt that's why everyone uses it. So, let's see. Ridgeway will make a difference for sure. Screw the East West, but I don't know what you're talking about with that. I think John Ridgeway. Okay. Unless we move to the East, we will not compete for titles in football in the SEC, says Chance Womack. I don't know, man. The East still has, even though they don't have an Alabama, they still have Florida. They still have Georgia. Georgia, I think, is going to be pretty good this year, for sure. I think Georgia's going to be solid. Let's scroll up here. Glad I actually caught you live. I rarely can. So really enjoy when I can watch live. Hey, I appreciate that, Christian Hansen. All right. I think that is going to do it. We're coming up on 44 minutes here. I do appreciate you guys. Be sure to like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the links. Again, shout out to the Patreon supporters. There you guys are. Look at you. I love it. You guys are rock stars. Shout out to Mr. T-Dub and Fishman for the super chats. For them super chats. I do appreciate it. And yeah, maybe this chair, and it looks weird too. It's like, I'd have to show you, but I don't know, man. It's not comfortable. She's like, it's good for your tailbone and your back. And I look at it, and it looks like something you would sit on in an alien spaceship. I'm kind of intimidated by it, to be honest. So, all right, Woo Pig. I will see you guys next week. We're gonna close out with the Patreon supporters there. If there's any more updates, well, you guys, you could join our Discord or follow me on Twitter, whatever, at Ty Hudson 83. Woo Pig. See you guys next week.